Administrator's report.
Yes, I have a couple of things for you. As you're aware, yesterday we had our kickoff meeting on our employee kickoff meeting for our ongoing maintenance comp and class study. Tessa, our consultant, came out and met with about 80 employees to talk about what their expectations should be as we go through this process. As they look to provide information on their job descriptions, they'll have an opportunity to review the job description, provide feedback on it, identify anything, essential duties that they are doing that is not listed in there right now, and then we'll have nice updated job descriptions after that. So we're looking at a third of the positions this year, and then a third next year, and a third the following year. The intent, the hope is that we will be through that whole process in about 6 to 8 weeks. So it moves fairly quickly once we get that information out to staff. And you know, the list of those positions along with the forms will be sent out to staff this week, and we'll make sure you get a copy of it as well so you can see what we're doing. Some very good news that I have is that last week we made an offer to a gentleman for an operator position, which he accepted, and with that we are full with heavy equipment operators.
Wow.
Great.
It's a year ago, as you recall, we were in a really tough spot and we were really concerned. And yep, that includes the 4 new positions that we've added over the past 3 years. So fingers crossed this person shows up on their first day and doesn't leave 2 weeks after that, because we've had that happen a couple of different times. But just really happy that we're in a really good spot. And I know Phil and his team are as well. We've had.
And does he have experience?
We've been hiring a lot of people who lack experience. I don't know specifically on this individual, but we've been working to train folks.
We help them get their CDL and.
We actually have been able to hire everyone with a CDL. But they typically, the folks that we're hiring have experience driving trucks. They don't have experience doing road construction. And you know, driving a semi is different than driving a grader. It's different than driving a snowplow, and so we're helping get them spun up. On the remodel project, things continue to move well on that. The new spaces have been painted over at the Family Services Center, and as you can see, the giant dirt pile that exists next to the building here. I would encourage you after our meeting to go walk through the treasurer's office or into the break room and take a peek out the window and take a look at the new foundations that are being poured. So it's pretty impressive the work that's gotten done just in the past week. And then lastly, as a reminder, we are going to have a work session next week. It's going to be our road tour. So we're going to hop on a CCT bus and drive around the county. Phil has a good tour planned out for us. So we're going to meet over at the highway building rather than here. And then hop in the bus and get going. 8:30 sharp.
And that was going to be 8:30.
I might not be back from my weekend ventures, so, but I've been on lots of road tours, so good luck. The bus is
Field
really
trial.
comfortable too.
Well, I hope we can get a new bus.
Well,
Maybe we'll get one of the new ones.
you've got a lot of influence over there. Speak up.
That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Andrew. We'll move on to Commissioner Committee updates. Start with the ladies to the right.
I had CHB, I don't know if I'm doing these in the right order here, but the biggest, we had a presentation from Project Harmony. Talked to the peer recovery specialist. That was very interesting what they do. They are starting a steering committee for the CHS. We talked about giving them a stipend, mileage, and that's gonna be 10 to 12 members from around our area, I think. They're in the middle of an audit. We had issues finding somebody to do the audit, so they found someone to do that. Talked a little bit about, there's been a national call about the avian flu. But I don't think anybody in Meeker has it, that they'd heard of at the time. I also had Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. They're pretty much back on their feet. They're gonna be having a legislative event that they want people to go to. They're expecting I'm not gonna get into that, but finances are going well. They're in the middle of an audit. They had they have election of officers coming up. They approved the workforce plan. I had law library, which I've been on since I became a commissioner, and what we talk about there, Corey has led that for how many years, Corey?
I don't know.
A long time, so, while I think of it, I wanna thank you for the good job you did doing it. She did it for many years, so, we decided that Mandy is gonna be the secretary now. Rebecca Rue is on there, Katie Block, from Court Administration, Judge Beckman is gonna be the new chair. We had talked about Westlaw, the remodel project. I don't know, do you have anything to add, Brandy? Brandy was at the meeting. No, it was
Looking
just-
at trying to provide ways that the public will come in and use the law library, because it's not used as often as we would hope. And so looking at some different ways we could provide some electronic means to be able to appear in court, file documents, and so that would be a free service from the state.
Trying to find a way to make it easier, so. I also had Woodland. We had the auditor, report, the outside audit, that went well. If you have any questions, that's a public document, it's not on the website, but if you have questions, it certainly answer them for you. I don't know, can you think of anything else, Danny?
On Woodlands?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, I don't know if what you're supposed to relinquish or not, but we're gonna be going from 2 commissioners per county down to 1 is the process.
They're talking about changing the makeup of the board. It's not been established yet, but they've had some strategic planning, so I think more information will come for that later.
Yep.
probably.
But I think it's worthy to note for as a county, we'll have less, luckily we have Judy who's also on it as an in-large member for Meeker.
Judy
But
Halter's
each
still-
county will be reduced from 2 to 1.
What was their reasoning for that?
I think it was, well, it was first presented as for diversity reasons or something, because so many were male commissioners. But we're actually, I think we're at 25% probably, or
I don't really think it was that. I think they just want people, I mean, not male necessarily, they want
they,
people.
they cited diversity at first, so.
Yeah, and also people, it's not unusual on a nonprofit board to have people from the, like, maybe you want a mental health worker, maybe you want a doctor, I don't know. It's still in the planning stage, so when the decision is made, we will let everybody know.
I was wondering, how could reduction in numbers improve diversity? That didn't make sense.
I don't think
How many
it's,
counties are represented?
I don't think it's that kind of diversity. I just think they're nonprofit boards are, sometimes look different than regular, and this isn't a joint powers board, it's a, right? It's a nonprofit board.
7 counties.
7.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So like Beth said, they're trying to finalize some stuff yet there. So there will be probably a reduction in the overall number of board members, though. When it's said and done, there'll be a few at-large members instead of commissioners.
I see, go that direction.
Yep.
All right.
So if I may ask, you just got done with the audit, what's the balance sheet? of
I
Woodlands?
What, in
Maybe
terms of
Danny
what?
remembers, I don't
What's your balance on
remember.
the bond? Got some money or
It's-
don't you?
No, it's actually looks quite well right now. Yep. I think it was, I don't wanna quote the exact, but
Don't either.
I think we're healthier than we've been for a while.
I think since they became and I don't wanna get too much into the weeds, but CCBHC and some other things have helped.
Yeah, that's
Just
So I
it.
think
curious
they're
as
doing,
to-
they're doing okay.
So,
If they were, you know, but
Yep.
it sounds like they're well in the black.
yeah,
Okay.
they're comfortable.
I also had a governing executive board meeting at the hospital. The good news to come out of there is I believe a provider will be coming, a male provider, in the fall that they've recruited. So we've been in need of a male provider, and then they continue to, look. They're looking into a provider plan for orthopedics since Dr. Walker's leaving. But they'll be finding somebody to replace that too, and then they're also hiring a new HR person. What else did I have? I think that's about it for me.
All right, thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, our last notes were given on the 7th. I was supposed to attend the Community Health Board, the 3-county public health in Gaylord, but I wasn't able to attend. I had a family emergency that day. I apologize for missing that meeting, and I thank Beth
That's
for
fine. That was
attending.
fine.
Thank you. Then on the 15th, that Wednesday, I had the local Meeker County Public Health meeting, and Lori is really doing a good job. She's taking over the reins of the Public Health Department. She's helping with the administrative shift. She's maneuvering the remodel, which is going along very well. Now we have the Public Health Accreditation renewal, which is coming up, and that's a big deal. So she and her staff are preparing to make their way through that reaccreditation. Lots of things going on. She has new staff. They are fully staffed now at this point. She's helping them get on board. And we had a wonderful presentation by Jenny Crow. She works with this program called ACES. And ACES is a program that helps children who have had adverse life experiences. She did a very nice job with that. In regard to the avian flu, Lori did report that just last month now in Meeker County in April, there was a farm that had 70,000 birds that were infected, and that was very devastating. That was another
That
bad.
must have been after our meeting then,
Yeah.
because they didn't
Yeah.
report anything.
That was a bad deal. And at this time, there is no current vaccine. There's an ongoing study because now the avian flu seems to be able to jump species, which includes cattle and humans. So they're watching this research very closely. The receipts and disbursements for the local public health, they're at 1/3 for the year, which at the end of April was right on target. And we have our work, road trip, field trip coming up now on the 28th, so that'll be good.
All right, thanks, Julie.
Yep.
Steven,
Okay.
I'll go Paul.
No, that's all right.
All right.
I'm ready. I attended both there was 2 DARE graduations, one in Eden Valley Watkins on 9th and one in ACGC the following day on the 10th. I attended both of them. About 60 students in both school districts participate in that, 5th graders. Good program, 43rd year of doing that program. So just kudos to the sheriff's department and the deputies that work with those kids and students year after year to put that on. Well attended and by parents and grandparents and families, so good program there. Then we also, on the 13th, I had a AMC Zoom meeting, kind of a legislative update. Some of the highlights from that, of course, that was Senator Mitchell was high on the list to be talked about that day.
Who's Senator Mitchell? Oh, the Ellen?
Yeah, the one that checked on her mother-in-law
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of the night
Was crawling around on her belly and her bed.
in black clothing,
Got it. I couldn't
covered
remember her name. so she-
flashlight, but
And she got to keep voting right up until the end.
anyway. Other things that was talked about, like public safety, and this could affect our jails, the telecommunications on confined individuals will impact our budgets here. And I haven't heard kind of the follow-up on that. I'm sure we'll hear more tomorrow in AMC's meeting on that. Another thing that I was just looking if they did this, the EMSRB is like the registry for first responders, and that board is being basically got a pretty internal audit and wasn't very favorable over the last year or two, so they are replacing that with a Office of Emergency Medical Services, and that's going to have a commissioner, and it's going to report to the governor and the legislature. So basically, we created a new office in the state.
What is that gonna do? They're creating a new office for,
This will be for emergency, for first responders, because the old board wasn't getting their work done.
You think that's a good idea? That's
I
gonna
don't
make a
know if
difference?
this is gonna make it any better. It's gonna make it
Just
a
more
lot more
government.
expensive to get
Yeah.
the same thing accomplished, but for whatever reason, they couldn't seem to fix whatever problems they had. With the existing E EMSRB, so there'll be more to come on that. EMS funding, the governor had it at $16 million. They did approve $24 million through the legislature. At the time of this meeting, they kind of figured it was open to additional funding, kind of as a play between the legislature on bonding dollars. They're gonna try and leverage some of it to get some more dollars. It sounded to me like bonding kind of took it on the chin at the end, and that they did get 24 million, so about 8 million more for one-time money for EMS funding.
There was also 6 million for a project up in the Iron Range, I believe. So I think the total is 30 million.
Okay,
But yeah, 24 was statewide.
yep, and that's one-time dollars, so that'll be a Band-Aid on that. So that was on the 13th Zoom, then the next day, the 14th, we had a negotiation meeting here. Christie had Zoomed in. We kinda went through all that in our closed session. Yesterday was, MRC meeting, and I was having a little bit of trouble, catching all that, but basically, it was kind of a, taking a deep breath after kind of a wild finish here in the last 10 days in the legislature. Some things that, I was concerned about and that AMC had watched earlier on, the drainage registry portal was a big thing that had been talked about on the drainage side. That did not, nothing changed on that. I shouldn't say nothing, but nothing significant happened. They are gonna keep the drainage work group together, and so that was a big thing there. Just a lot of, kind of the dust was still in the air pretty much, so there's a lot of things to settle out on the session, and a lot of impacts, changes to the paid family medical, paid family leave and those types of things, so. Then tomorrow morning, there'll be a 9 o'clock, AMC recap, and I'm sure that'll be a little more detailed, but I think there's 2,800 pages dropped on the last, there's a lot to sort through here.
There's a lot of piles there, I saw.
And there's even been discussion, I've seen the topic of a special session for the ERA stuff, but I don't really
I think
foresee
they're all
that
glad to get out of that argument.
I think so too. So
Did they say how this EMS money will be distributed? Cause usually the rural
I
counties suffer.
I haven't heard that. I was trying to look it up here as we were going through stuff, but like I said, a lot of the stuff they pass and it's,
Did they do anything
Unclear.
about the county to county stuff, or I had
I
heard
know
some
some of
talk
this
of
is
that?
targeted towards the ambulance.
Yeah.
Inconsistencies there, but like I said, it'll be interesting to see what kind of, how the dust settles out.
Yeah,
And that's all I got.
well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. Paul?
Well, let's see, Wednesday I had my oil, oh no, I got the wrong calendar, I didn't have my oil change that day.
Okay.
No, last week Beth had a conflict and asked me to go to the Southwest Consortium meeting. I'm not gonna say very much about that today because, Andrew, are you planning to have a special work session on that?
We need to talk a little bit more about that after the information that we learned yesterday. I don't know if a special work session is necessary.
Okay.
Just do it a regular board.
But we are gonna have a decision to make whether we're gonna support the funding of, to about $37,000. So we're gonna have to have a pretty robust discussion about how we wanna proceed there. It was a long meeting that day, it was down in Marshall. It was a long meeting. They're trying to get through a GPA and talking to counties about paying in. Some said they just can't afford it, won't do it. So, a lot of things, I don't wanna, where do you start, where do you stop on this particular report? So I'm gonna wait till we have a chance to discuss it, so we can get it all out there at one time. I had another meeting with Brandy, Paul Bukovich, and Andrew about this very thing 2 days later, of which Brandy's had to do a fair amount of work, just getting additional information. Number one, the GPA doesn't look right. Should we put it that way and stay nice?
I'm concerned about the way that the JPA is drafted as your legal counsel.
Yeah, so, and you're gonna be sending me back there, cause Beth has asked me just to be the primary, on this. So I'm gonna have to go back with an answer on the 14th of June, whether we're in or out. So we wanna carefully consider all the facts in this matter as we make our decisions, so, we got that to look forward to. CCT meeting, we had there's a small group of us who did our annual review of our executive director
Say,
there.
did I miss another CCT meeting? No.
But we're very pleased at the position at CCT financially. We're getting some buses and things are moving in the right direction, so we're very pleased about our current condition at CCT. I did miss the graduation of Aaron at the courthouse that day. I came through, stopped and talked to Andrew, walked out and forgot about it, and I felt bad about that.
Certainly, Beth.
Yesterday, up in Morris, we had a CPT meeting. It was really a good meeting. 22 out of the 24 counties were represented there. And we had a robust discussion on a number of issues. One of the ones that we're considering to happen at the end of the third quarter or the beginning of the fourth is a county payback. We bought that company, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2018? 2018. Every county of the, paid in $176,000.
175.
175? Okay, of which we have gotten 75 back already. We are contemplating either a $25,000 payback in the third quarter or beginning of the fourth quarter, or a $50,000 payback. So that has been a great investment for us as it continues to pay us back what our initial investment is. Got my first real look at TaxWeb, and Meeker County and Yellow Medicine are one of the two counties who are testing it. And it's really, Gwen was so excited on that. Well, there's Barb, she's a part of the testing. And Gwen gave a presentation yesterday and she was, you know, it looks slick.
It's working fine.
Yeah.
Testing is done.
Yeah, it's got a nice look to it. You're done with that green screen. You've got, and it all comes up. The data that you can just keep hitting tabs and more data and more data. You can see your previous year's tax statement. It's just loaded with information.
But where will this fit into the consumer?
The consumer will be able to see this effective the first week in June. And it is replacing the toggle button that you look at on our webpage right now with a fancier look. So they have this data available. It's the same data, only it's user-friendly for your mobile or any size device.
So does it replace,
It's not replacing anything, it's just updating what we already have.
okay.
So if you went on the county webpage right now and you look for the tax payment toggle, that's the new look.
It's kind of tough to go on there and make, so it's gonna make it easier. It's more user-friendly.
I think so.
I don't feel like our site is very user-friendly.
Can you get to it, Andrew?
I will make that effort.
You know, all of our tax stuff is public information. So, you know, that you can go in and look it up. Now, you cannot search by name. You have to search
Remember,
by
that's a
address
Meeker-
or parcel number.
That's a Meeker
So is
County
it-
choice.
We changed that.
We changed it on Beacon, so I'm assuming that it's changed here also.
To name,
Can't search name on Beacon, the average person.
You got-
You
you
can't.
can't search name on any of them.
So that's where I was going. Is it tied to Beacon
It-
at all? Okay.
So on the far right-hand corner, the tax parcel search, when Andrew clicks that and agrees to this,
Suppose I agree.
this is what it looks like
Oh,
now.
they got you, Andrew.
But now, the new look will be, similar, only in just an updated version of it.
And we'll have tabs all the way across, so you can just continue.
This one
to-
does too. Hate to pull up a parcel,
What's Manana's number? I'll give you one. I'll give you one to put in there. What's
That one?
Manana's code? 24?
15.
15? 15 dash, oh, it's a bunch
Put a
of
star.
zeros.
Just put a
Just
star
put-
there.
just put the
Put a
asterisk
zero
and
and
we'll pull
an
all
asterisk.
15.
Put it,
It's 37,000, I know that, but I don't know
there,
how many
just
zeros.
pick one of them now. Anyone. Okay, so what he's talking about is the ribbon across the top will be the same, but that ribbon, will give just a different look. It's blue, it's got more data right on the dashboard, and you're gonna have to push toggles to get the data rather than it showing right away. So as Andrew goes across each of those tabs, the tax information, you'll toggle and you'll get the history, as Paul's saying, or current receipts. On back, Andrew.
I clicked on it.
Oh, got it. It's really, really slow today. It'll show whether they have or have not paid, special assessments if they have them, unpaid tax, and then the beauty of it is the history. And then Beth, you were seeing the credit card? Yeah.
Now,
So
one
that's
thing
what
that-
we've been testing.
One thing that Mike said yesterday, he said the new system, the old one, the more users were using it at the same time, it was just slow.
Yep, yep. It's
Now
real
they've got
slow
the new
today.
piece in there so that you could have 10 people looking at it and you're gonna have the same speed. It's not gonna be that
Yep.
turtle pace, so.
And it's also designed, and that's what I was testing, is designed if you're using the full-size computer like Andrew is, or your tablets, but also if you're on your mobile, which you can enlarge and scroll back and forth. And I was testing that too. So we're good to go.
So Paul, that money, how much money do they have?
Well, at the end of this year, we'll have right around 3.2 million,
And they're distributing what percentage back?
be about 1.2 million.
So will that money go to IT?
That money will go into the general fund and we can determine what we wanna do with it.
I always think it should go back for what it was being used for, but I guess we got it under the general fund when we joined, but
So,
if there's
and-
something they need in IT, that would be that, right?
And there was a lot of discussion about, well, should we do 50,000 this year, or should we do 25 this year, 25 next year? So it looks like there's a continual payback. And then, Commissioner from Grant County, Troy, said, well, why don't we just figure it out? This is how much we're gonna keep in reserve, percentage-wise. Every year, then, we just pay out that much, so it would be a 60-40. Keep 60 in reserve, pay back 40. And that way, every year, you'd have a payback. So, a lot of things are out there, we put those all forth to the budget committee and said, come back with a decision, or a recommendation, I'm sorry. And then we'll go from there. So we hope in our July meeting that they will have their recommendation, and we wanna have something so we can tell all 24 counties, this is what you're gonna get back, so they can budget for it. So you know that's income that you're gonna have to work with your money. I know
Well,
it's a small part of our budget dollar percentage wise, but I still think we as a county should feel good, we're a part of 24 counties, and this thing's gonna make money for us in the big picture, so.
I always wonder how much, have we gotten a lot of help out of it though? That was always the question, I mean, has it helped to belong to CPT? That's,
Well, the ideal was to rate stabilize. If we control our own software, we control the rate that the counties pay to utilize it.
so you're saying it is then?
I think so, that's just my personal opinion, we've stabilized that rate, cause when was the last time we had a rate change?
I think not only the rate, Paul, I think you stabilized just the uncertainty of where it was going and the order of when we get updates. Because the updates now are driven by users and not by management.
And for example, Tyler is one of the other ones that provides the tax package. Their cutover fee is $375,000 plus time or by the hour for everything else. So $375 to cut over to a new one, we paid $176 and we've gotten back, or $175, correct me if I'm wrong. We've gotten back 75 already, and we're about to get back more of it. So I think it has saved us money. I think I'm pretty safe in saying it's saved us money. And we control it. We have a seat at the table, which to me is the most important thing. But that's it for me.
If I can go back to the
Yep.
EMS question that came up before of how is that money distributed, it's Greater Minnesota, EMS providers only. So it's also based on my brief review of the language, not any providers that hold multiple licenses, if one of those licenses are in the metropolitan area or in any of the major regional centers, including Duluth and Rochester and Mankato.
Well, good.
Do you guys recall, did anything happen about the ambulance areas? Cause they had a work group.
And I haven't heard anything.
They were, I heard them talking about it when I was watching the legislators that day, but I don't
There,
know.
I haven't heard the details on how that's.
I think that's one of those issues that they felt that the Emergency Medical Response Board was not addressing properly, and one of the reasons why they went to go to this office. Because now the idea, I think, is that the office is then more responsive to the governor rather than a board of individuals who have been appointed by the governor. I think
It
that's
was a topic I know that was being discussed.
Dr. Sand was very,
Heard any more lately though, so I
not
wonder.
lately.
It's a hot topic. I mean, and it kinda comes down to your private ambulance services like Watkins, who serves basically a big area.
Versus
and then-
Mayo.
Then you got the Mayos, you got the Centricares, you got the Alinas. Then you bring in the Lifelink and the North Memorials into that. And it all comes down to the patient and the transferring of the patient, where the funding goes with the patient and how some of these smaller regional services provide a really valuable service, but they don't get equated funding. And so that's kind of been
I
the,
think this aid is intended to try and assist.
and I think that was the main target.
Yep.
Keep in mind the 24 million that was approved, the ask was 143.
Yeah, I know. It is.
So I mean, it's still,
But you still have the communities with BLS that don't get funding because they are that, they're not the advanced life support, so.
and that's like Watkins is a BLS, basic life support versus advanced, but that's also then where the community paramedic program comes in. Because that community paramedic basically gives you that advanced life support. He can hop in that ambulance and now you have a paramedic who can actually do the things that,
But if the one who has this area pulls up, they have to give up that.
it gets down on scene of fighting over the patient.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
not
the
a
frustration
very,
part. Makes no
that's not a
sense.
great place to be in, I can tell you that. It sounds worse than it is, but it does happen, is the way I'm gonna put that.
All right, thanks, Paul. I had, Woodland Centers, Beth and I covered that earlier. And then we had EDA, and only thing we did in EDA pretty much is we took some funds that were in savings and put them in 6-month CDs. Give us the flexibility that if we needed to pull it out in 6 months, which usually how long projects takes, we could do that, yet we get a good rate on our money. So, with that said, I'd also like to thank again the Employee Service Awards. I think it was 16 members, so I think that, thank you for your work, and we're adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep.